Sharp King here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com, off of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. And I got a question from a subscriber. He wanted to know, what's the cost in Japan like? And what's the cost difference between living in America, in a big city, versus living in a city in Japan? Oh, so he basically wants to know, what's the cost of living like in Japan? Japan as a whole, Japan is a very expensive place. It's a very expensive place to live, for real. See, in America, it's based on where you live. But in Japan, everywhere you go, it's expensive to me, for real. Japan is like one of the most expensive places I ever lived. Especially if you live in Tokyo or any of the cities. Like Osaka is not too expensive. Nagoya, Yokohama, not too expensive. But Tokyo is ridiculous. And then one of the things about Japan is you get what you pay for. And one of the most frustrating things for a lot of foreigners living in Japan is space. Because everything is small in Japan, for the most part. And a lot of those apartments is very small, man. So on average, let's say, I lived in Yokosuka for the most part. And the average apartment in Yokosuka is anywhere between $800 to $1,000 today, right now. And if you go to Tokyo, oh shit, man, there's some apartments in Tokyo like $5,000-$10,000. So it's really, the price is really outrageous. And like I said, you get what you pay for. Now I'm talking when I say 800 to 1,000, this is small shit. I'm talking like some shit like, I'm talking less than 400 square feet. Small like that. I'm talking like, and this is the size of a fucking hotel room in New York City, in like Times Square, Manhattan. I'm talking small like that. 400 square foot or less. Now, if you want something that's bigger than 400 square foot, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to really come out of your pockets. And there's a lot of red tape in Japan when it comes to renting an apartment or renting a house. In certain places, a lot of the real estate agencies and firms, they don't want to rent the foreigners because, like I said, a lot of Japanese firms and agencies know that a lot of foreigners are not going to stay for the whole, I guess, term that they have on their visa. Because they have the data, and they know a lot of people that get visas for a year. Within 6 to 8 months, they're gone, right? So, if you're going to leave early, you have to break the lease. So a lot of agencies don't want to fuck with foreigners just because of that. And a lot of foreigners that live in Japan, you know, they more than likely, not all, but a lot of them, probably trash the apartment or trash the house, and they'll leave furniture there or whatever they couldn't get rid of before they left. And a lot of Japanese agencies, real estate agencies, they don't like that shit. So they, a lot of them won't rent out to foreigners just because of that. And plus, it's a very, you have to adapt to things being very small, especially if you're a tall and big guy like I am. See, I'm 6'2", and in Japan, the ceiling's shorter. You don't have a lot of room, and a lot of things that we take for granted over here. The average apartment don't have over there. The average apartment don't have a washer and dryer. They might have a dryer, but they probably won't have a wash and dryer combination. If you get an apartment with a dryer, with a washer, that's going to be extra. And if you have an apartment with a wash and dryer together, you're going to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? And they don't have like big ass ovens like we have over here. Like every apartment doesn't have an oven. They have the you probably have to buy like a toaster oven or something like that. They'll have a microwave, but they won't have a big oven like we have over here in America. It's like over here in America, every apartment you go to is gonna have an oven. But over here over in Japan, they just have the stove. That's it. And if you want to bake, you have to go buy a toaster oven. You know what I'm saying? And they don't the refrigerator is not that big in most cases. And if it is big, if you do want a bigger refrigerator, you're gonna have to pay for it. So just think about it like this. Anything that's big, you're probably gonna have to pay extra for it in Japan. Unless you live in Tokyo. Now, if you live in Tokyo, you can get all that extra shit and all that big shit, but you're gonna have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Because see, in the city of Tokyo, they cater towards the foreigners. Because, you know, Tokyo is basically a tourist spot, and they use Tokyo to generate revenue. That's basically what Tokyo's for, really. Because the average Japanese person don't live in Tokyo because they can't afford to live in Tokyo. You know? And that's one of the myths about living in Japan. Everybody thinks that all the Japanese people live in Japan and they got all this goddamn money and they living the lavish life. No, some of them are living a lavish life, but that's not the majority. I'll tell you that much. So, you know, the cost of living is expensive. You get what you pay for, and there's a lot of red tape. A lot of foreigners won't rent out the a lot of agencies won't rent out the foreigners. And that's something you have to watch out for. And another thing that I thought was weird, you know, in America, money talks in America, but obviously it doesn't. Money don't necessarily talk like that in Japan, because it's been in some cases with people that I know, they might, like, for example, I'll give you an example. This one guy I know, he's retired Air Force, and he got at least over $5,000 coming in every month, based on his retirement check and his other means of income, right? And I think he wanted to buy a house, and they told him that he didn't qualify because he doesn't pay taxes in Japan, right? Which is, it doesn't make any sense, because if you live in Japan, you're going to pay taxes, whether it's sales tax or whether it's, has a car, so if you got a car in Japan, you're paying taxes, right? Because they give you a foreigner card. So you know, there's a lot of fuckery. What I would say is they'll try to come up with an excuse to disqualify you. So I mean, so you can have as much money as you want in certain situations, and they still, well, you might still get rejected. Shit doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what I'm saying? You know, but that's just some shit that you gotta deal with living over there. That's why it's so frustrated with a lot of people. Because number one, you might have the money to move in, but they'll come up with some bullshit reason for why you can't move in. And plus, 9 times out of 10, where you're going to be living in, the apartment that you're going to be living in, or the house that you're going to be living in, is smaller than what you're probably used to 9 times out of 10. So, you know, now it's some houses, older houses, that I know that people live in that are big. But that's because they've been living there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So they can renovate and do whatever they do because they own it, right? But the newer houses, for the most part in Japan, it's very small. The walls are thin, too. That's another thing. The walls are thin. And another thing, when it comes to air conditioning and heating, that's very expensive over there. That's very expensive. You know what I'm saying? That's probably... it's probably double the price over there. So I think in America, the average air conditioning and heating system is anywhere between, on the low end, probably $2,000, on the high end, $5,000. You know, my brother do air conditioning and heating, so I know the prices. On the low end, you can get one $2,000, on the high end, $5,000. Right? In Japan, that's going to be like $10,000 at least. You know what I'm saying? So that's something you should think about too. Plus, in Japan, they got the hotel air conditioning and heating. They have that too. But even that's expensive. And you know the hotel air conditioning and heating, that only heats one room. So that's something you have to get used to too. So if you can't afford to have the air conditioning and heating system installed in your house or apartment, or if you can't pay the extra money, you gotta stay somewhere either without air conditioning and heating, or buy an air conditioning and heating unit for each room. And most places in Japan don't have AC. So that's just some shit you gotta get used to. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, the little things that we take for granted in America, you gotta pay extra in Japan. It is what it is. So those are just some things you have to think about when it comes to the cost of living. You know what I'm saying? So if you like what you heard, check out my blog, ChooseYourRelationships.com, and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, Sharp Games out. Peace. I'm out.